Our resident lawyer, Despina Priala from boutique law firm Priala Legal in Runaway Bay, with us every Thursday to offer her legal expertise by providing some general advice on the latest hot topics. Of course, she has experience spanning more than 25 years in the area of property and commercial law. She talks about that and all manner of things every Thursday morning. She joins us now. Morning, Despina.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, Brooke.
Morning, Despina. So this morning is a very hot topic. It's in regards to obviously the current real estate market. It is booming, especially here on the coast. So there's been talk that some developers are pulling out of contracts early, and this has caused some issues. So can you shed some light as to what's going on around the market at the moment, Despina?
Sure. I wanted to talk about this because there is a property boom and it's very real, it's very live, and a lot of people are jumping on the property boom bandwagon, if I could call it that, where everyone's, wanting to buy off the plan and get their properties locked in early and wanting to, I suppose, take advantage and capitalize on this property boom that we're seeing. And it is a property boom and it's all very good for the Gold Coast and very positive. And I'm loving it as well, of course, being a property lawyer. And I do act for developers as well as acting for buyers. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things that buyers need to be aware of when they're looking to purchase off the plan. And what I'm seeing, and we've talked about off the plan before, but I suppose within the context of this property boom, what I'm seeing more and more is that buyers are wanting to jump in straight away for fear of missing out. And there's been a lot of talk about, well, we're running out of product on the Gold Coast and we're running out of projects and properties that buyers can tap into from interstate, particularly. And what I'm seeing more and more is buyers jumping in without proper thought or careful consideration, and do I dare say without proper legal advice, before signing that off-the-plan contract and really understanding what their risks are in an off-the-plan contract. When you're buying so far ahead of the project being complete, when you're relying on the developer's promises, warranties, representations upfront, it's all very important for the buyer to understand what they're getting themselves into and that they're actually locked in for a period of time, which might be 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, sometimes 3 years, 4 years down the track.
You can see how this could cause a big problem, because obviously whenever there's a gold rush, and you can think of any gold rush and that sort of thing that's happened in Australia in the last couple of 100 years, when everyone is trying to pile in at the same time, everyone's trying to just get things done as quickly as possible, you can see how mistakes are being made and perhaps some people not being quite as careful as they might be otherwise.
Well, that's right. So, as I said, people have got this fear of missing out. So they're jumping in straight away and no proper advice or careful consideration. And then what we have at the moment is this property boom where prices are going up and up and up exponentially. And then we have construction costs for projects that are increasing by 10%, 20%, maybe 30% in the future. And then, of course, with the developers and their builders, they've got to account for that increase in construction costs somewhere along the line. And have they sold at the right price to their buyers that they currently have under contract, maybe 3-4 months ago, to what they really would like to sell now? And typically what you'll find in an off-the-plan contract, and they're all pretty much the same to varying degrees, but these contracts are favoured to the developers for a number of usually justifiable reasons why it's favoured to the developer. And the buyer has very limited rights generally in an off-the-plan contract. So it's already tipped on the scale of the developer anyway in terms of the balancing interests and competing interests between a buyer and a developer. But there are some things that the buyer can do to protect themselves as much as possible with their rights and understanding their risks better. So a few things that they should do. Of course, one, they should always go to someone who understands off the plan contracts. And when I mean someone, I'm talking about a property lawyer who's experienced, not any sort of firm that just does property generally. They really have to have a knowledge of off the plan contracts, projects, and how it all works over the timeline. So that's very different to just buying a house that's already existing, registered, and we settle in 30 or 60 days. So there's quite a big difference. So you need to go to someone who understands it. Then what is a typical question buyers ask me, and I expect it, and we always talk about it, is, well, let's talk about the project, particularly who is the developer and who is the builder, because often the developer is not the builder as well. So you have the developer who's doing the project and they will engage a builder separately. Mm-hmm. And that builder is the one that's engaged with the developer under a build contract to build the project. Now, in terms of risks to buyers, what I say to buyers is, let's look at who the developer is and who the builder is in terms of, are they experienced? Have they done projects before? If they have, what have those projects looked like? Have they been completed within the timeframes that they advise buyers at that time, if that information can be found out? Look at the builder. Do your own searches on the builder. Look at their current license, for example. And there's no reason why buyers cannot go to sales agents and say, okay, well, who's going to be the nominated builder for this project? So if that information is known up front, you definitely want to know who the builder is, to find out who they are, if they're experienced, if they've been around a long time, and what are the projects that they're currently doing and have done in the past, to look at the quality of the project, particularly when it was completed, if there was word or gossip or rumours or other evidence about defects post-completion, and how those defects were dealt with by the builder and the developer. So a lot of things that you can do with your lawyer, and your lawyer, if they're good enough, of course, would recommend that these things be done. And there are other things such as searching on the court's website. So a lot of people aren't aware that in Queensland and New South Wales, you can jump online and you can actually search and do a party search for any current matters or previous matters that have been settled in the Supreme Court and District Court.
So, gosh, that's handy.
Yeah. That would be handy
It
to
is.
know, yes. Yeah.
It is. So not all court matters are something to be, I suppose, wary of, in that when you search a party name, you can search their name and any litigation proceedings will come up. Then you have to click on and see, oh, what type of proceedings are these? Are they current or have they already been settled? And you can perhaps get some information and gauge what type of proceedings. Is it a claim for damages? Or was it as simple as, well, this person just applied for a grant of probate in the Supreme Court, for example. So there are different types of litigation that you could find, but very relevant to do. And there's a website, of course, in Queensland and New South Wales where you can do that. And we do those searches for clients all the time, just to see, well, I wonder if there is any litigation going on at the moment with this developer, with other parties, maybe for other projects. You never know.
So what you're saying is really we have to do our research to make sure you can wholeheartedly trust in the developer and the builders that you're kind of rooting for.
Well, that's right. So the searches and inquiries that you should do, your lawyer should be doing with you, and they should recommend it. And these are little things that you can do along the way. And if they're missed, if these steps are missed or skipped, it might end up being very fundamental to something that happens down the track with the project, with this developer, because maybe the developer was in proceedings, maybe they were going, being wound up, maybe not, maybe they were being sued, maybe they had 10 lawsuits against them. I mean, these are things that you would want to know, to take into consideration before going into an off-the-plan contract. And I'm not saying all these developers have litigation suits. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, no, of course not, but what I'm saying is, do your due diligence. That search that I've talked about is free. You just jump online and have a look yourself. And there are other inquiries that you and your lawyer can make up front to find out about this particular developer and their builder and their history, which is very important for the future of the project that you're going into.
As we mentioned, it is going to turn into a bit of a gold rush. I mean, it already is, and certainly once the borders are free again, allowing people to come up this way, especially from Sydney and from Victoria, it really is going to be on. Do you think that a lot of people, maybe in 12 months or in the next couple of years, might actually get their fingers burnt here?
Well, perhaps, and that's why they have to be careful. And when I talked earlier about, well, you know, I'm hearing on the grapevine that potentially some developers are trying to get out of their contracts now with the rise in construction costs to then resell to other buyers at a higher price. So the buyers that are under contract now that they thought were secured for 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, maybe they are and maybe they aren't. So there are things to look for in that off-the-plan contract that are generally, you see similar provisions across projects, but there are other things that are really important to look for, such as any warranties that the seller or developer is providing in the contract, such as a simple clause where the developer agrees that they are entering into this contract in good faith, that they will take reasonable steps to do what they say they're going to do, such as develop the project, construct the townhouses, if it's a townhouse project or units. So those sorts of things to see in the contract are very important, rather than a very loose, generic type of contract that doesn't actually provide those warranties.
Awesome advice there from Despina Priala from boutique law firm Priala Legal. Stay tuned. Up next, we'll be talking about fur babies. Who will get the pet in a separation? Stay tuned. You're listening to Radio 97.